All right, buckle up, y'all. This ain't gonna be your average run-of-the-mill story. This is the story of how I died. Well, almost died. For 8 long minutes, my heart flatlined. 8 minutes I spent outside of this reality, seeing things that'll make your jaw drop. Things that changed me, fundamentally. And I am here to share every single detail with you, in the hope that it might just change you too. I truly believe God has a message for you hidden within my experience, so please pay close attention. Watch until the end. Before I get started, drop a comment down below. Tell me where you are watching from, what city, what country. I am going to read all of them. Knowing you are out there, listening, makes this whole thing a little less surreal. My name is Isabella, and until a few months ago, I was living the Denver dream. 25 years old, dentist, owning my own little practice in a trendy part of town. From the outside, I had it all. Perfect teeth, obviously, a cute apartment with mountain views, a social life that kept me hopping. But the truth, I was drowning. I was a perfectionist. Not the cutesy, oh, I just like things tidy kind. The soul-crushing, can't sleep at night, constantly second-guessing myself kind. Every filling had to be flawless. Every crown had to be a masterpiece. Every patient interaction had to be a symphony of empathy and professionalism. The pressure was relentless. Growing up, my parents had instilled this expectation. Not explicitly, never yelling or anything like that. It was more subtle. A raised eyebrow when my grades weren't perfect. A disappointed sigh when I messed up a piano recital. A constant feeling that I wasn't quite measuring up. That feeling followed me into adulthood. Dental school was brutal, the competition was fierce, and I pushed myself harder than anyone I knew. I aced the exams, graduated top of my class, and landed my dream job at a prestigious clinic. But even there, surrounded by success, I felt like an imposter. I'd spend hours agonizing over a single case, poring over x-rays, obsessing over the smallest details. My co-workers would tell me to relax, that I was doing great, but I couldn't. The fear of making a mistake, of letting someone down, of not being perfect was paralyzing. This anxiety bled into every aspect of my life. I couldn't enjoy a simple dinner without mentally cataloging everything that could go wrong. I couldn't watch a movie without critiquing the actors' performances. I couldn't even fall asleep without running through a checklist of everything I'd accomplished or failed to accomplish that day. Spiritually, I was a mess. I'd grown up in a church-going family, but I'd always felt a disconnect. The sermons seemed hollow. The rituals felt empty. I wanted something more, something deeper, something that resonated with my soul, but I was too busy chasing perfection to search for it. The irony, of course, is that in my relentless pursuit of perfection, I was pushing away the very things I craved: peace, joy, connection. I longed to be free of the suffocating weight of my own expectations. I yearned to simply be, without constantly judging and critiquing myself. I wanted to relax, to laugh, to feel alive. But I didn't know how. I was trapped in a cycle of self-criticism, constantly striving for an unattainable ideal. I was exhausted. I was stressed. And I was about to face the ultimate test. So there I was last Tuesday doing a routine root canal on Mrs. Henderson, a sweet, elderly woman with a wicked sense of humor. Everything was going smoothly. I'd numbed her up, prepped the tooth, and was just starting to file the canals when disaster struck. Mrs. Henderson started coughing, a lot. She was gasping for air, her face turning an alarming shade of purple. My assistant, Maria, immediately recognized the signs. Anaphylactic shock. She had a severe allergy to the anesthetic I'd used. I immediately called 911 and started administering epinephrine. But it was too late. Mrs. Henderson's breathing stopped. Her pulse faded. My world started to spin. Adrenaline surged through me, but it felt useless. I knew, with a sickening certainty, that she was dying. Right there, in my dental chair. We started CPR, Maria and I taking turns compressing her chest, trying to force air into her lungs. The paramedics arrived minutes later, but it felt like an eternity. They took over, hooking her up to monitors, injecting her with more meds. But nothing worked. The head paramedic, a gruff, no-nonsense guy named Frank, looked at me with grim eyes. Time of death, 10:17 a.m. My heart stopped. Not figuratively. Literally. The stress, the guilt, the sheer horror of the situation, it was too much. I collapsed. And then everything went black. Or, well, not exactly black. It was more like a void. An absence of everything. No light, no sound, no sensation. Just nothingness. Then, a pinprick of light. Small, faint, but undeniably there. It grew, slowly at first, then faster and faster, until it engulfed me entirely. I found myself floating. Above my body, I could see myself lying on the floor, surrounded by the paramedics, Maria frantically wiping tears from her eyes. It was surreal, disorienting, and strangely peaceful. I wasn't scared, not even a little bit. I was just observing, like I was watching a movie. Then, I felt a presence. A warmth, a love, a sense of utter and complete acceptance. It emanated from the light, surrounding me, comforting me. And then I saw her. She wasn't human, not exactly. But she wasn't an angel either. She was energy. Pure, radiant energy. But somehow, she had a form. A feminine form, with flowing robes and eyes that sparkled with infinite wisdom. She smiled at me. A smile that held all the love and compassion in the universe. "Isabella," she said, her voice a gentle whisper, "you are here because you need to learn something." "Learn what?" I asked, though I didn't speak aloud. It was more like a thought transmission. "You are too hard on yourself," she said. "You strive for perfection, but perfection is an illusion. It does not exist in this realm." I was taken aback. But I have to be perfect. My patients depend on me. My success depends on it." She chuckled, a soft, melodic sound. "Your patients depend on your care, your skill, your empathy, not on your perfection. And your success, true success, comes from within. From accepting yourself, flaws and all." She gestured, and suddenly I was reliving my life. Every mistake, every failure, every moment of self-doubt played out before my eyes. I cringed, ashamed of my imperfections. "Look closer, Isabella," she said. "See the lessons in these moments. See the growth. See the strength." And as I watched, I began to see things differently. I saw that my mistakes weren't failures, but opportunities to learn and improve. I saw that my self-doubt wasn't weakness, but a sign of humility. I saw that my imperfections were what made me human, what made me relatable, what made me me. "Compassion, Isabella," she said. "That is the path to self-knowledge. Compassion for yourself, compassion for others. Forgive your mistakes, learn from them, and move on. You are not perfect, and you never will be. But you are loved. You are valued. You are enough." She then showed me visions of the future, of the potential that lay within me. I saw myself leading workshops for other dentists, teaching them how to manage stress and anxiety. I saw myself volunteering at free clinics, providing care to those who couldn't afford it. I saw myself writing a book, sharing my story with the world. And then she showed me the other side. A desolate landscape filled with shadows and despair. "This is the path you are on if you continue to chase perfection," she said. "A path of isolation, of fear, of emptiness." The contrast was stark, terrifying. I knew, in that moment, that I had to change. I had to let go of my need for control, my relentless self-criticism, my impossible standards. I had to embrace my imperfections and learn to love myself, just as I was. "You are ready to return, Isabella," she said. "You have a purpose to fulfill, a life to live. Go back and share your message. Show others that it is okay to be imperfect. Show them that compassion is the key to happiness." And then, just as suddenly as it began, the vision faded. The light dimmed, the warmth dissipated. I felt myself being pulled back into my body. A jolt of pain, a gasp of air, and then I was back. Lying on the floor, surrounded by the paramedics, Maria weeping beside me. Frank, the gruff paramedic, was staring at me in disbelief. "I don't believe it," he said. "She's back. Pulse is strong. BP is stable." I looked at Maria. "Mrs. Henderson?" I croaked. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "She's gone, Isabella. I am so sorry. The grief hit me like a tidal wave, but it was different now. It wasn't the paralyzing guilt, the crushing self-blame I would have felt before. It was a deep sadness, a profound sense of loss, but also acceptance. I knew that Mrs. Henderson's death wasn't my fault. I had done everything I could to save her. And while I couldn't bring her back, I could honor her memory by living my life to the fullest, by embracing compassion, by sharing my message with the world. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I took some time off work, started seeing a therapist, and began journaling about my experience. It was difficult, painful even, to confront my past, to acknowledge my flaws, to let go of my need for perfection, but it was also liberating. I started meditating, practicing mindfulness, and focusing on gratitude. I spent more time with my friends and family, reconnecting with the people who truly mattered to me. I even started taking art classes, something I'd always wanted to do but had been too afraid to try. I still struggle with perfectionism sometimes. Old habits die hard. But now, when I start to feel that familiar anxiety creeping in, I remind myself of the lesson I learned on the other side. I remind myself that I am loved, that I am valued, that I am enough. And I remind myself that perfection is an illusion. I am no longer the person I was before my near-death experience. I am more compassionate, more forgiving, more accepting of myself and others. I am more present, more grateful, more alive. And that, my friends, is a gift beyond measure. So, what do you take away from this? The spiritual realm is real. It is a place of love, of wisdom, of infinite possibility. It is a place where we can learn the deepest truths about ourselves and about the universe. But more importantly, it is a place that is always accessible to us, even in this life. We don't have to die to experience the love, the compassion, the peace that resides within. We simply have to open our hearts and minds to the possibility. The kingdom of God, the heaven we seek, isn't some far-off place we go to after we die. It's right here, right now, within each and every one of us. It is the love that connects us, the compassion that heals us, the peace that sustains us. My message to you today is simple. Let go of your need for perfection, embrace your imperfections, forgive your mistakes, learn from them, and most importantly, love yourself just as you are. Because you are loved, you are valued, you are enough, and you have a purpose to fulfill. Now, I want you to think about your own life. What are you striving for? What are you chasing? What are you afraid of? Are you chasing perfection? Are you afraid of failure? Are you trapped in a cycle of self-criticism? If so, I urge you to take a step back, breathe, reflect, and ask yourself, what truly matters? What truly matters is love. What truly matters is compassion. What truly matters is connection. And those things are always within reach. So go out there and live your life to the fullest. Embrace your imperfections. Forgive your mistakes, and love yourself, just as you are. Because you are loved, you are valued, you are enough. Thank you for listening, and may you find peace on your journey. Before you go, I want you to do one more thing. I want you to share this video with someone who needs to hear this message, someone who is struggling with perfectionism, someone who is afraid of failure, someone who needs to know that they are loved and valued. Share this video, spread the word, and let's create a world where everyone feels accepted, loved, and enough. Thank you, and God bless.